Hello and welcome back to another episode of Awaken, Heal and Transform with your host, me, Francesca Raffa. It has been a little while. I did have a week off. I was attending my Reiki Yusui Mastership teaching course, which was absolutely incredible. I'll probably have to do a podcast episode talking about the experience and what I went through and the attunement and connecting with such beautiful souls. And I just felt like I had come home. It was very, very incredible and much needed time off as well. But I am back and I have an amazing lineup of incredible people to interview, with today being one of those days, with a lovely, lovely lady whose name is Sasha, who I connected with via Instagram. She has a very inspirational story, which I related to, and she really is vulnerable in talking about her transformation, how she went through the dark moments in her life, really dug in and did that inner work to be able to transform, to overcome these feelings of self-doubt, low self-esteem, low confidence in herself and who she was and what she was here to do. So she is a soul business coach. So through her experience has led her to her passion to help other women to overcome these fears and blockages so that they can also live a soul-led life and attempt their journey and do what it is that they are here to do with ease, and no resistance, removing or unraveling the layers, the built up layers from the past to step into the new. And I am just very, very excited to have Sasha here, because just through reading her story, I felt very deeply connected to it. So I'm excited for her to talk about it with you and share this journey that is so transformational, that will hopefully inspire you in so many ways to begin your journey and to know that it is possible to overcome such feelings that we have that do hold us back. So let's welcome Sasha. Hi, Sasha. Thank you so much for joining the Awaken, Heal and Transform podcast today. It is an absolute pleasure to have you here, and I'm really, really, really keen to get stuck into your journey and finding out more about you. Just like with everyone that I bring onto the podcast, it's all about that transformational moment. And just through having a sort of brief understanding of your story that I read through your website, which is so beautifully shared, I have to say. Thank you for that. I just was able to resonate with a lot of things that you were talking about, and the dark moments as well that you went through that allowed you to overcome and actually transform yourself in so many ways. So I really want to open this up to you, Sasha, to vulnerably share your story today with me and the listeners. That is so inspirational. So please introduce yourself, Sasha, and tell us about your journey on how you have got to where you are today with your passion.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for having me. So nice to be here. Yeah, wow. Well, it's a long and winding road, but of course, our story has so many twists and turns in it for everyone. There's so many moments of awakening that I've moved through that got me through different layers to arrive at where I am, which I guess I'll say where I've arrived. I've arrived at being a soul business coach, or I call it spiritual business activation, to support new coaches and healers who are in that stage of knowing that they want to be a coach, or knowing that they want to be a healer. They've been through their own transformational journey, but they get stuck at actually creating a business from it. It's that feeling of, I know I'm here to do something. I've received so much wisdom from others. I've healed myself, and I'm at the point I want to share it, and I just don't know how. It feels too much to think about turning it into a business, but I know this is what I want to do. So there's so many blocks that happen, particularly at that stage. So that's why I love working with clients in that area. And because that was the part that I struggled with the most, because I had so many stop starts in that area, where I'd be confident one minute, and then I'd be oh, back in my shell, and all the self-doubt the next, and I'd get all my tools back out and then put all my tools away and be I don't know how to do this. And that just went on for so long, and I invested in the wrong people, and all these things, made these decisions that basically just stopped me for so long getting to the place that I wanted to be in my business. So that's why I kind of support people in that space. But really, like, the healing part of it is the bit that I love the most. Like, the business structure and the strategy is beautiful, but it's fairly simple, right? At that level, it can be really simple, but it's really about the healing and embodying and becoming that woman who is a coach, who is a healer, who shares her medicine with the world. And yeah, my journey for that, like, stems from childhood trauma, like childhood sexual trauma, and I talk about this a lot through my Instagram as well, of just, not so much about the in-depth story, of course, but just about empowerment and coming from a space of being completely dissociated and cut off from my body, my intuition, my wisdom, which, like, naturally, probably, as it's like the birthplace of our creativity. It's the birthplace of who we are, like our sacral, our womb space. It's where our life force energy sort of like comes from, in a way. It's like our spirit, our soul, our essence. Like, for me, in the body, like, that's the space that's really important to me as a woman. And having disconnect from that space and from my whole body just meant that I was living completely the wrong life. So my journey was very much in, like, coming home to my body, and what tools, what practices supported me in coming home to my body. And at one point I was living my dream life. I had the boyfriend, I had a beautiful apartment in London, like, by the river. I had everything that I'd wished that I wanted, and I felt I was actually really ill. Like, I felt like I was getting ill and ill. And I remember going to the doctor, just a Western medicine doctor, just to the GP, and just saying, like, there's something wrong with me. I feel like I'm dying. Like, I just told him, I feel like I'm dying. I don't understand what's happening. And he, like, did all these tests and was like, there's nothing wrong with you. And I was like, there's something wrong with me. And then literally, like, a month later, I just, like, left London, moved to Bali, and, like, that's when I really began my, like, trauma healing, to being surrounded by all these beautiful people who are on their healing journey. And yeah, really getting into these different practices and understanding, like, qigong was really so nourishing for me. Different yoga, sound healing, just anything you could imagine. I was like, just give me it all. It's like, oh, I finally found what I was looking for this whole time. And just really finally felt like myself. And to have that feeling of home in your body, I know we talk about it so much, that home is like, it's a feeling within you, and it's an arrival, like, into yourself. It's not something outside of you. And that concept really hit home, pun intended, when I was out there, when I'd done all this healing work, and I was like, this is the feeling that I want to live with for the rest of my life, and this is the feeling that I want to take through into my work, and this is the feeling that I want to share with other women.
Wow. That first of all, incredible. What I just want to start from the beginning with the work
Yeah,
you do, and focusing in on that very important moment, actually, when it is transforming from career. If someone's transforming into a new career, there's all those feelings, like you were saying, that come with it. And myself, I have definitely gone through that and experienced that, especially last year. Was the imposter syndrome, the self-doubt. Oh, well, I haven't been doing it for very long, so how is anybody going to trust me? This, that, and all those kind of things. And I think that's a very pivotal moment to capture people that need the support, because that's when we need the support most. So many businesses fail within the first year, don't they, because of those
right.
emotional issues that we're going through. So first of all, amazing work that you're doing. So thank you so much for showing up wholeheartedly as you to do that, and passionately help others to overcome, so we can all be here abundantly and create the businesses that we want to do to fulfill us. And your journey, I just want to go into that one point. What was the feelings that you were going through when you turned up at the doctor and were like, I think I'm dying? What were those feelings?
Honestly, the first thing, and I'm sure so many people resonate with, is that I couldn't understand. I didn't get it, because it was like such a mental, like, confusion, because I got everything I wanted. I'd even been like learning about manifestation and things like that. And I was like, oh, I manifested this, manifested the boyfriend, manifested. I was like, I'm a manifesting queen. And like, so I was, in a way, I was like, why aren't I happy? And
Mhm.
that's all that kept going on a loop in my head. I was like, I don't get it. Why aren't I happy? I'm waking up and I don't want to live this life. And it's because I had all that repressed trauma that I just didn't know. Like, I didn't even know that I wasn't connected to my body. So all it was like, that it's hard to even say what the feeling is, because I just felt empty.
Mhm.
And my head was just kept on a loop, like, you should be happy, you've got everything you wanted, your life is working out. And so, but I felt like completely, it's not even unfulfilled, I just felt flat on the inside. And I couldn't explain it, I didn't have words. If someone asked me like, how are you, I'd just be like, well, obviously I'd fake it and be like, oh, I'm fine. But on the inside, I was like, I have no idea how I am. I have no idea how I am, who I am. I thought I'd done it right. I thought I'd figured it out. I thought I got what I wanted, and it doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
So that was literally me every single day. And
Mhm.
it's just that lost feeling, really.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Sounds like, the inner battles that we face and we don't share because we're fearful of others not understanding that, because from an outside perspective, like you said, and in relation to maybe so many others, you'd achieved so much that you wanted to, and other people would only dream of achieving some of the things that you had done. And it's kind of that feeling of, oh yeah, am I ungrateful to say that I'm not happy, when you've created everything that you've wanted, and without even realizing you were manifesting so much into your life. But this is what's so interesting about your journey. And again, like you said, so many people could relate to this, because I think we all do this. We all go through life in this unconscious way, where it's like, okay, well, this is what we've been told we need to achieve, and we get it done, and we do it by the rules, or do it by the way that it is kind of step by step planned for us. And then it's like, now what? And in so many ways, I think that lack of that empty feeling, again, I'm talking from experience because I can totally resonate. It's like this empty feeling, and you don't know how to fill it again. But by filling it, you need to acknowledge some of the past. And one of the main sentences I saw on your website, which I really love, was, unraveling our past is the only way to heal our present. So was that sort of your moment where you went to Bali and you began that journey of unraveling the past, and you started going back in time and realizing pivotal points in your life that you hadn't addressed? How was that process for you?
yeah. So I'd sort of dipped my toe in, like, I really struggled with eating disorders. So I'd been on like a healing journey around that. Like, I decided about a year before I went to Bali, I was like, I need to figure out my relationship with my body, because I was actually a personal trainer at the time, and
Mm.
I thought that I like knew my body and knew how it worked. But the idea of like self-love and loving your body was just like so new to me and so foreign. I was like, what does that even mean, to love my body? So I already sort of started a healing journey around just my relationship to my physical self. Like,
Mm.
so I did a lot of work around that. But then, and I still didn't address the root cause, right? Because the root cause was the trauma, and the eating stuff was just like a symptom, basically. So I was looking at the symptom, I was doing coaching and healing around this, and I thought I'd got there. I really felt like, I could stand in the mirror and be like, I accept my body, how it looks, and like all those things. But I still hadn't really, I hadn't gone deeper. And, it's fear, really. I just didn't want to. I just had such a block around it. And I will say this as well, around my trauma, like, I always remembered it. And I always remembered what happened. So it wasn't completely repressed. It wasn't like the memories popped up. And I know that's kind of a slightly different journey for
Mm.
people. Like, I always knew, I always remembered, I'd always acknowledged it for myself, but I just chose to ignore it. And then when I went to Bali, I had, a conversation that absolutely changed my life. Like, this girl, just, I was in a cafe and it was just me, and yeah, just this whole cafe, just me sitting there. And this girl just came in and was like, oh, can I sit next to you? Like, do you mind? And I was like, yeah, that's fine. And then she just started telling me her story and like what she'd been through. And like she'd also been abused, which I've come to find out so many women, it makes me feel so ill. And when I think about my like bigger vision, I'm like, that's my bigger vision,
I think it's one
to
in
like
three
it's insane.
statistics as
And
well.
like it's insane, isn't it? So yeah, that just absolutely breaks my heart. But hearing her share her story with me, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is something that you can deal with. Like she's speaking about it and she's healing it. And this is something I don't have to keep inside of me any longer, because I hadn't told anyone. I told my sister actually, but we didn't talk about it. I just told her and then that was it. And I was like, oh, I need to deal with this. Like this is something that has to happen. And then yeah, from there it was just, the thing is that I have like a strange perspective on it in a way, in that I was so welcoming of my healing journey. Like it was so hard, but I enjoyed the hard. Like I really relished the days where I was just like sobbing and just like releasing all this. I was like, yes, just more. Like I just need to get all of this out. Like I was so grateful that I had this time and space to do this. And I know that that's not available for everyone, but something that if I recommend to anyone if they can is like take time to just heal, like to not do anything else and just be in those emotions and just have people hold you and just cry and just everything. There's like months of rage that I went through and had like my teachers being like scream, I'd be like ah. And yeah, it was amazing to finally feel free, right? It's that liberation. The liberation of that journey was just amazing. And the truth of the feel your feelings was really like hit home to me. And I'm just so grateful that I had that time, honestly.
Mm. Sounds incredible. And what I really love about that story is it was through the connection of another that allowed you to realize the journey that you needed to take for your own
Yeah,
transformation, for your own healing. And that's
yeah,
what I find so beautiful. And one of my big things is around connection and how we really need that as humans to be, we're all mirrors, aren't we, in so many ways. So the things that we can't see about ourselves, we can see in another. And it kind of triggers that thing within us that's like, oh my gosh, like for you, that lady was so openly talking about it and you were like,
yeah.
oh, I haven't spoken about it. And for you that was a moment that awokened you to, okay, I have to begin to really, really do the work and acceptance of what happened for myself so that I can openly talk about it and start really turning that trauma and that pain into your own power, which you very much have done. So talk a little bit about how you help your clients through some of the processes, or what are your main focuses? Is it self-doubt? Is it low self-confidence, or I mean, obviously it varies depending on client to client, I suppose.
Yeah, so there are some similar blocks that people move through. So the structure, like the way I would structure my containers, is very much like in a linear masculine business building way. And what happens is that at every step, we just meet a different flavor of resistance, basically. And yeah, the resistance all comes down to believing in ourselves and that self-doubt, because so many of us that have experienced trauma in some way or experienced real struggles with being connected to ourselves and our truths means that we don't trust ourselves. So the biggest part of the journey is learning how to trust yourself. And what does that mean to really trust your intuition and trust your gut? So a huge part of coaching and healing is me being like, you don't have to do what I say, like you get to choose, and like opening that space for someone to really choose their own life. And a lot of the common struggles as well is around like codependency. So it's lack of self-identity that comes along with lack of self-belief. So it's like I don't trust myself, I don't know who I am, like outside of the collective stories that my family mostly tell me about who I am. And it's kind of empowering women to have that separation, to be like, I am my own person. It's not selfish for me to choose what I want to do with my life. I'm here to serve and support other women, other men, and that's what I'm here to do. So it's really about bolstering that part of them and reflecting back. As you say, we're all mirrors. So part of being a coach or healer is reflecting back that part of themselves to them, reflecting back the part that is confident and empowered. And I always say that, look, I'm sitting here, the living embodiment of the thing that you are wanting to do. That is the proof that you need. Like, I'm showing you, and you've come here, what's possible for you, and that you can do this for yourself.
That's so beautiful. It sounds incredible, these sessions. But it's interesting that you notice sort of the same sort of common denominators, and it is around the self-belief. And where do you think this comes from, where we are in this society where there is this real loss of power, would you say?
I mean, being women, it's just in the collective, right? It's what we've witnessed and what women have been fighting for like hundreds of years now, is to be acknowledged in their feminine power, and to not try and take power from men, but to own our own power as women, to be doing life in a different way, to be living cyclically, to be living in line with our bodies of what we want, to be living more in tune with nature and all these different things. And I feel like the powerlessness is kind of cemented into the structure of the society. And I don't really believe in like blaming the collective. That's not what I would say, because of course we always get to empower ourselves, but that's the narrative that we as women were born into, and it's the narrative that we're all working to unravel, I believe, when we're doing this work.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like the umbrella, I would say, of the issue, but then to be able to lift the umbrella of the self-doubt or not believing yourself, you have to go inward to do the inner work to build that self-esteem back up, or build that belief back up, because we are so quick to kind of just accept oh yeah, I can't do that, or we're just so quick to accept that fear that comes up initially.
Yeah.
We just kind of listen to it, and it's like, well, why are we just listening to this fear and accepting it for just on face value? But it's like there's so many things that we have succeeded in that we tend to just forget. I guess that's all part of the journey to be able to overcome. And for me specifically as well, around the self-belief, it's like, I just thought I had to work for someone else because that's what you do. And also something I've started realizing lately is how fear shows up. Sometimes I'm like, I want to start something, I have this great idea, and it's like, oh, I'm going to start it, I'm going to do it, it's great. And then I start doing it, and then the first thing that pops up is like, oh, but this is going to take you forever.
Yeah.
And then because I'm like, oh, it's going to take me forever, I haven't, I've time, and then it's like, and then I'll put that on the back burner. But then, I'll sit on my phone for maybe half an hour. It's like,
yeah.
So it's ways in which fear comes up, which all stems down to that sort of umbrella thing about not believing in yourself, of, okay, I don't believe in myself that I can dedicate 5 hours or whatever it is to one task to be able to achieve it. And we're so quick to just kind of distract ourselves, but without realizing that actually is the fear taking the control.
Yeah, absolutely. And it plays all into like the perfectionism, people pleasing part of it as well, is that I need to be perfect in order to do this. Like, I can't be a beginner. Everyone needs to like me. Like, all of those stories just come into play and just basically keep us trapped and stuck.
Yeah. And so
Much.
it is so much, because equally, like, this is our humanness, and we naturally do this. It's so innate within us to come at this negative angle, and it really is a mindset work. It's mindset work, but it's inner work to overcome those negative thoughts, or just to catch them in their sort of train of thoughts, to catch them and stop them before you allow them to sort of spiral into any further negativity. I mean, is there anything specifically you would like to share with the listeners today one story of yours that was an experienced moment which you share a lot in maybe some of your sessions?
My gosh, there's just so many. But the one thing that I would really say, and it's especially relevant if you're kind of new, is that the truest thing is the fear is not going to go away, and you have to take that action anyway. So whatever the thing is, you've got to be prepared to hold the fear, like to feel the fear in your body, to feel your heart beating, to know that this is fear, to know that it's energy moving through the body, to know that you're doing something new, you're doing something different, you're pushing yourself, you're moving outside of your comfort zone. When you feel fear, that's what's happening, is that you're moving out of a place that you feel safe in, and you can still do the thing. You can do the thing from that energy. Like, you don't have to, it's a complete paradox to think, oh, I have to wait to feel completely relaxed because then I'll feel ready to do this thing. If it's truly something that is outside of your comfort zone, say it's your first ever coaching session, your first client, the first session, you're about to go on that Zoom call. And I'm sure maybe you felt it with your first ever podcast recording, right? Your
Yeah.
heart rate is going to go up. The fear is going to come into your body. You cannot avoid it. Like, you cannot. There's no way, because that would mean you are inhuman. So the fear is going to happen, and you've got to know that, like, you're in control, and like, I am brave enough to do this even though there is fear in my body, and like, I can still take the action. And every time we do that, then that action gets easier. And truly, if you know, and I know that anyone listening to this podcast knows, like, if you know that you are here to support other people, to be a healer, to share magic, to share medicine, to be a coach, to be in that supportive, encouraging, motivational role, whatever it is, then let the fear just be there and take the action anyway. And you will just feel so unbelievably proud of yourself, like, so proud of yourself, and like, celebrate that. Like, just take the action through the fear. Honestly, like, that's what will change your life. Otherwise, you're just keeping yourself stuck in what feels safe to you.
That's perfect. I love that. I think when you do that as well, like you said, you do feel so proud of yourself afterwards. But when you do it, you can then easily do it all the other times because you know you've done it once.
Right.
You just have to do it once,
Yeah.
right? Isn't it? It's
Right.
it once, you know you
Exactly.
can do it. That is a really, really great advice that you've, obviously just given the listeners, and to me as well. It's always a good reminder, I think, because no matter where you are, when new things are coming up, when you're always evolving, everything's always, I feel like there's always something new. You're always going to be faced with something new, and it's so we need the reminders constantly, because like you said, if we didn't have those feelings, we wouldn't be human. But it's about sort of taking on the fear and going, okay, I'm feeling fear now, accepting that it is fear, but instead of seeing it as fear, seeing it as that opportunity to break a pattern or break a mold, and just go for it. Just take the
Yeah,
action. It's like, oh,
exactly.
action. It's all about action, isn't it? It
And
really.
it's just really, that's what creates your new identity. Because we're
Mm,
talking about transformation here. This is
yeah.
specific to transformation. If you're trying to change your life and become a new, different version of you who does new, different things,
Mm,
then you have to move, you have to move through that. And having that, like, separation in a way of being the observer, right? It's where all the meditation practice comes in. That's the purpose of doing meditation. That's the purpose of doing these reflective practices, so that in those moments where the emotion is really intense, you can be like, okay, like, have that calm around, like the calm container around the emotion, and not be completely like taken in with it and cause you to stop or run away.
right. Yeah. Don't react on emotional reaction, but take that time, that pause, to be able to know what action to take. Yeah.
Right.
Mm, amazing. So, Sasha, where can people connect with you, and what have you got anything exciting coming up that you want to share?
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, Instagram's the best place to find me, but I'm on Facebook as well. Obviously, I have my website, and yeah, sign up to my email list. Have weekly emails every Friday, which is just like fun bits of like astrology, quotes that I love, poems, like just kind of little inspirational things to end your week with. That's all in my link on Instagram. And yeah, my one-to-one coaching containers are always open. I just have them open because the right people always come through at the right time, is sort of how it has worked for me. Um, and I have a new astrology course as well coming out that will be like a self-study, and it's around really supporting people understand their natal chart and business. So how to read your natal chart, and then how that might reflect how you work in business.
Oh, that sounds really interesting. I love astrology. So to be able to link the two, that's awesome. Um,
Yeah.
wow, that's super exciting. Thank you so much, Sasha. Everybody, sign up to Sasha's newsletter. And obviously, I really hope that you've enjoyed this episode. I really loved speaking with you, and your presence is so calm and collected. And I just feel like there's so much wisdom kind of like flowing through you.
Thank
I'm
you.
every time you're talking, I'm like really listening. I'm just like
That's nice.
taking
Thank
it all
you.
in. So you have definitely found your calling as a soul business coach. I'm so excited for you and your
Thank
journey.
you.
Thank you so much for joining today. Sending you lots and lots of love. Thank
Thank you so
you.
much. Thank you.